Hello and welcome to Beyond the Ordinary. Today I'm going to be talking about Battleground by Jim Butcher. Now, I reviewed Peace Talks by Jim Butcher only a month or so ago, and this is the follow-up book to that. Now, when I talked about Peace Talks, I talked about it being only half a book, and you can say exactly the same thing about Battleground. Without Peace Talks, Battleground is not a story, it is half a story. And in fact, the two of them together make one bloated book. And I say bloated because there's way too much words in there which didn't need to be in there, and they don't add to the story in any great way, shape or form. If you took both books, condensed them down with some decent editing, you would have one good story, I think. Although even then, I do have some issues with the two books as a single book. I'm not sure if Jim Butcher is being absolutely brilliant or is losing the plot slightly. The character of Harry, as is portrayed in these two books, has changed significantly from the previous books. And maybe this is a time thing, maybe this is because of Jim Butcher's attitude in life now, 6 years on from the previous books. But there is a very different style that Harry has as he's narrating the books. And I'm not sure if this is intentional and shows the influence of the Winter Night mantle on Harry, or whether this is unintentional and Jim is just moving Harry further away from where he used to be in a way that is making it unsettling for the people who are used to a certain style of Harry Dresden portrayals in books. So the tone has changed. The books themselves are full of rubbish. I looked at some of the reviews on this on Amazon, and somebody made a really good point in that this is a massive battle and that the tactics, military intelligence that Harry and the other people in this book use are basic at best. And Jim could have done with spending a bit of time doing some actual research and having people who know actually how to fight battles explain to him how a battle would be fought. And this makes a lot more sense when you look at who is doing the fighting, and you've got people who've been around for millennia and should know all of the battle tactics, and Harry is in some way being right there up there, being a person who is issuing orders, and he shouldn't be in any way, shape or form. He should be a minor role in this at the best. Yes, he has got one thing that he needs to do, and he does absolutely the wrong things for doing that, because he's getting himself involved in fights he should not be getting himself involved in, completely negating his long-term plans and putting himself and the whole of the earth at risk. And that doesn't make sense, because we've got to know Harry as, okay, yes, he has short-term planning problems, but long-term he is a thinker, and he should not be doing the jock role. He should be thinking about how best to fulfill his game plan. And how he acts in these books is completely wrong for that. Now, I won't go into major spoilers about the books because it's all too easy. Lots of things aren't resolved by these books. In fact, there's things that are left hanging, and the things that have been left hanging from previous books which should have been resolved by now. We do have one resolution in the Murphy-Harry relationship. We can definitely say what's happening there now. But other than that, pretty much nothing is resolved. The whole surprise ending of this book was not really a surprise, I don't think. I think it was pretty obvious. And should have been pretty obvious to most readers fairly early on. And this means that this whole book is just pretty much a waste of time. It feels like Harry doesn't know where he's going, where Jim doesn't know where Harry should be going. I was expecting a huge battle of this sort of proportion in the big 3-book killer end of series trilogy that Jim has been promising for a long time. And to have a book like this earlier on, before that happens, is, I don't know, in some ways a disappointment. And also it was more of a disappointment because there was no real cleverness in any of the fighting. Where was the amazing backup plans and people appearing from nowhere who had been called for by Harry at the start of the book, which totally resolved all of the problems. The stuff that he was capable of doing earlier on, he doesn't appear to be capable of doing now. He seems to have gotten less intelligent. And normally, if you've got experience in things like, for example, fighting, you get better at it, not worse. And also, all the fun has gone as well. There used to be a lot more fun in these books. So, the things that really made a Harry Dresden novel are seeming to be gone, and I'm not sure what they're replacing other than sort of some generic fantasy battle, which isn't what these books have ever been before. The humanity that Harry has been fighting and trying to maintain seems to be lost somewhere, and nothing seems to be bringing him back to it. At the end of Peace Talks, his grandfather essentially kills him. He doesn't, because of a trick played by Harry. This is a spoiler for Peace Talks, but I think if you're reading or listening to a review of Battleground, you shouldn't do that without having read Peace Talks first. There is no follow-up to this at all. His grandfather and Harry talk to each other in this book like that didn't happen. And that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And there's real problems like that all the way through this book. Now, it's still Jim Butcher, who writes good dialogue, writes good characters, has a problem writing women, but there we go, he always has had. So it's not a terrible book, but it's not a good book. And I would rate this about 6 out of 10. Hope you've enjoyed this review. I've been Nigel. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. Of Harry, going to say Harry Potter there, I don't want to.